How safe are our digital spaces from foreign interference? Let's delve into the story of French parliamentarians who first raised the alarm about cyberattacks targeting their computers. In 2021, a group of French lawmakers found themselves at the epicenter of a digital storm. They reported receiving virus-infected emails, marking the beginning of a cyber saga that would ripple outwards, causing waves of concern both domestically and internationally. The common thread weaving these cyberattacks together was the alleged perpetrator, a hacker group known as APT31. APT31, a name that wouldn't seem out of place in a high-tech thriller, is believed to be linked to the Chinese government. This connection has been suggested by several countries, including the United States and Britain, adding an additional layer of complexity to an already intricate narrative. These concerns didn't spring up out of the blue. They emerged just as Chinese President Xi Jinping was preparing for a state visit to France. This timing, some might say, was more than just a coincidence. It was a part of Beijing's chess game, a strategic move to deepen political and economic ties in Europe and to counterbalance its strained relations with Washington. The 7 parliamentarians who sounded the alarm were not just any lawmakers. They belonged to the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, IPAC, an international non-profit body for legislators who perceive China's policies as a potential threat to democratic values. This cyber espionage saga marked a shift in the digital landscape, turning it into a battlefield where invisible wars are waged and where lawmakers' computers became the front lines. Amidst this digital turmoil, one voice stood out: Olivier Cadic, a centrist member of the French Senate. Cadic didn't mince his words when he voiced his concerns. He said, "We are clearly faced with wide-ranging foreign interference by China." These stark words resonated, echoing the alarm initially raised by the lawmakers and framing the cyberattacks as more than just isolated incidents, but as part of a broader, more ominous narrative. The cyberattacks were seen as a wide-ranging foreign interference by China, according to Olivier Cadic, a centrist member of the French Senate. In the world of cybersecurity, sometimes discoveries are made months or even years after the initial attack. Unearthing the roots of a cyber invasion can be likened to piecing together a complex puzzle. It requires persistence, sharp analytical skills, and a little bit of luck. And sometimes, the pieces fit together in the most unexpected ways. Such was the case for a group of French parliamentarians who found themselves at the center of a cyberstorm. The alarm bells began to ring in March of the following year, well after the suspected breach had occurred. The trigger for this belated realization? An indictment by the U.S. Justice Department. 7 Chinese nationals found themselves in the crosshairs of the U.S. Justice Department, charged with the act of sending malicious emails. These emails weren't just your run-of-the-mill spam. They were designed with a specific purpose, a targeted intent. They were, in fact, the digital footprints of an alleged Chinese hacker group known as APT31. These individuals, believed to be associated with the Chinese government, had been sending these dangerous emails not only to U.S. critics of China, but also to foreign detractors, including members of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, or IPAC. Among these targeted individuals were the 7 French parliamentarians. Imagine their surprise and shock when they discovered that they had been victims of a sophisticated cyber attack. These were not just any lawmakers, they were members of IPAC, an international non-profit body for legislators who view China's policies as a potential threat to democratic values. At the time of the attack, they had been working on sensitive projects, discussing issues that were of significant import not only to France, but also to the democratic world at large. The discovery was a shocking revelation for the French lawmakers, who had been working on sensitive projects at the time of the attack. The realization that they had been targeted and breached was a wake-up call, not just for them, but for the world of cybersecurity at large. Despite the alarming discovery, the response from French authorities was described as lightweight by the affected lawmakers. As the gravity of the situation came to light, it was met with an underwhelming response from those in power. This was not the swift, decisive action one might expect in response to a potentially devastating cyber attack. Instead, the lawmakers found their serious concerns falling on deaf ears, dismissed or ignored by those who should have been their first line of defense. Ex-Senator André Gattolin, one of the affected lawmakers, took matters into his own hands. He filed a police complaint in an attempt to bring attention to the issue. Gadelin, who at the time of the cyber attack was writing a sensitive report about foreign interference in universities and research, expressed his frustration at the lack of action. His requests for an investigation from France's National Agency for the Security of Information Systems, or ANSI, were met with silence. His attempts to engage the anti-espionage agency, DGSI, were equally fruitless. Not one to be deterred, Gadelin, along with his colleagues from the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, or IPAC, reached out to the U.S. law enforcement agency, FBI. The FBI confirmed that they had indeed informed the French authorities of their suspicions about the cyber attacks as early as 2022. This revelation only added fuel to the fire of frustration felt by the lawmakers. They had been left in the dark, uninformed of the potential threat to their cybersecurity. The lawmakers' frustration was further exacerbated when government spokeswoman Prisca Thévenot made a statement in the Senate. She assured that French services were paying close attention to APT-31, the hacker group allegedly linked to the Chinese government. But for those affected, such statements were insufficient. They were dealing with what they considered an open official attack, and the authorities' response fell far short of what they deemed necessary. The lack of response from the French authorities led to increasing frustration and concern among the affected lawmakers. The situation served as a stark reminder of the complexities and potential threats of our interconnected world. What does this mean for the cybersecurity landscape and the international relations between France and China? This cyber attack, allegedly orchestrated by the Chinese hacker group APT-31, has profound implications not just for France but for the global digital community. In an era where digital spaces are as real and consequential as physical ones, such incidents underscore the fragility of our cybersecurity infrastructure and the potential for state-sponsored cyber warfare. For France, this incident highlights a critical vulnerability in their national security. With lawmakers being targeted, it raises the question of how secure are the digital spaces where critical decisions affecting the nation are made. It's not just about protecting personal data anymore, but safeguarding the very pillars of democracy from foreign interference. The French government's response to this incident, however, has been met with criticism. Government spokeswoman Prisca Thévenot's statement that French services are paying close attention to APT-31, including under legality aspects, has been deemed as insufficient by some. The fact that this alleged cyber attack went unnoticed for so long, despite warnings from the US, is a cause for concern and calls for a more robust and proactive cybersecurity strategy. In terms of international relations, this incident could strain the ties between France and China. The allegations of state-sponsored hacking, if proven, could lead to diplomatic tensions and potential economic repercussions. It's not just about one country accusing another. It's about the violation of international norms and the potential threat to global cybersecurity. However, this incident also provides an opportunity for international cooperation in strengthening cybersecurity. Countries can come together to share intelligence, develop common cybersecurity standards, and hold those who breach these norms accountable. The shared threat of cyber attacks could foster a collective response, turning a challenge into an opportunity for global collaboration. In conclusion, one thing is clear. The digital landscape is the new frontier in international relations. Cybersecurity is not just a technical issue, but a geopolitical one that requires concerted efforts from all nations. The incident raised serious questions about the security of digital spaces and the nature of international relations in the digital age. As we wrap up, let's revisit the key points of this alarming incident. The initial alarm was sounded by a group of French parliamentarians who reported cyber attacks targeting their computers. The attacks were attributed to the hacker group APT-31, suspected to be linked to the Chinese government, and the parliamentarians expressed concern about the inadequacy of their government's response. The discovery of these attacks was made after the U.S. Justice Department indicted 7 Chinese nationals for sending malicious emails. The French parliamentarians, all members of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, only realized they had been hacked when they were included in this indictment. One of them, ex-Senator Olivier Cadic, even identified a Trojan horse-type email he had received as coming from the alleged Chinese hacker group. The response to these attacks has been a controversial point. Gattolin lamented the lack of attention he received from France's National Agency for the Security of Information Systems and the Anti-Espionage Agency DGSI when he requested further investigation. The French authorities' handling of the case was described as lightweight by Deputy Anne Genete. This perceived inadequate response has sparked a debate about the country's cybersecurity measures. The implications of this incident are profound. The accused Chinese hacker group targeted French parliamentarians who view China's policies as a threat to democratic values. This raises questions about the extent of foreign interference and the vulnerability of democratic institutions. Gattolin expressed concern about the silence surrounding China's actions, comparing it to letting Chinese spies walk right into our offices. In conclusion, this incident underscores the importance of cybersecurity. In an age where our lives are increasingly digital, the security of our digital spaces is a shared responsibility. We must all be vigilant, and governments must ensure robust measures are in place to protect against such threats. This incident serves as a stark reminder that the world of cyber warfare is not confined to the realm of fiction, but a pressing reality of our time. In an increasingly digital world, the importance of cybersecurity cannot be overstated. Remember, the security of our digital spaces is a shared responsibility.